And there we go. All right, sweet.
All right.
All right. Here we go.
Cool.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to That Pixel Life. This is episode 37 for January 10th, 2019. And this week, we're going to be peering into our crystal balls and trying to predict gaming in 2019. What titles will be successful? Which ones will flop? Which games will miss 2019 completely? What's in store for the big three? We'll give you all of our thoughts on that. Also, we're going to be reviewing that little arcade 1-up cabinet that I've had some time with, so I want to talk about that. We're talking about some Beat Saber, some Shadow of the Tomb Raider, plus more. So let's get started. My name is Josh Faulkner. We got Zach Anderson. Hi, Zach.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm chilling, man. How are you?
Similarly chilling.
Similarly chilling. Okay.
Having a much better day today than I did yesterday when my daughter.
Oh, we lost you.
Starting off with a bang.
Yeah.
It was like I had an infant again. Like she slept in half-hour chunks for the entire night.
You want to repeat that, man? We lost you there for a second.
I said it was like I had an infant again. It was like she just slept in half-hour chunks the entire night. And
that sucks.
And then I got up and went to work. So it was good times. It was a great day.
Yeah, it's not fun, man. Bummer. Shannon Moore's here too. Hi, Shannon.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you, sir?
It's all right.
It's all right.
I'm anxious to start talking about video games.
All right, let's get to it then. Now, of course, if anyone's just tuning in, didn't listen last week, Elena has left us, Elena Grimm. She's going to be taking a more of a back roll approach to the podcast from here on out, but she will be making special guest appearances in the future, so it won't be the last you'll hear from her. But next week, we will be reunited with Robbie Steltenpole, so that is awesome. So he's getting geared up and ready for that, so stay tuned for that next week when we'll have our fourth person back. But just this week, it's just the three of us, so hopefully that will suffice. But either way, head on over to thatpixellife.com if you guys want more from us, including all the links you may be interested in, like following us on Twitter at thatpixellife for show updates and gaming tweets. You can subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to watch the unedited live stream recording sessions of each of these shows each week. Join us on the Facebook group as well if you want to chat gaming with us. Subscribe to us on Patreon if you want to help fund the show and keep it running, and you get some special incentives for that. And there's links to every podcast platform we can be found on. So if you're listening to it, we're probably there. I do want to mention that I do have an article up this week about the Arcade 1-Up Street Fighter 2 cabinet. I wrote a review for that thing. So if you're curious about it, go check that out on our website. We will be talking about it more this episode, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, did you guys hear about this Second Dinner developer that ex-Blizzard game developers kind of formed, I guess, this year or something, and apparently they're working on a Marvel game or something?
Yeah, so they've been around for a little bit, since 2014, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And so I think they left. I'm trying to think. He was the game the main company head was one of the directors for Hearthstone.
Okay.
And then they left and then went over and started their own company. But yeah, so recently they got a contract with Marvel to create an undisclosed video game. They didn't say what it was or what it was going to be about, but right after they got the contract, they went to a Chinese company called NetEase and got a $30 million business loan from them to help them ramp up as far as recruitment and to get a healthy team together to create this game. Now, I know a lot of people are really talking about how this is probably going to be a card game, since that's pretty much what the chief owners are known for.
Yeah.
But Marvel just released a card game in October. So people are saying it's kind of odd that they would probably try to create another card-based mobile game so soon. So there's a lot of rumors speculating as to what it might be, but with a $30 million loan from this company, people are thinking it's probably going to be a little bit more of a beefy game than just another card knockoff. But
when you said that a Chinese company was involved, I instantly thought of like an online game, like an MMO, or I mean, I know mostly like Koreans are really big with that stuff, not necessarily Chinese, but But yeah, I know the Asian area, seems to be real big on sort of like goofy anime, MMOs and stuff that end up on mobile platforms and stuff. So I started thinking about this. I'm like, man, I hope it's not like a mobile multiplayer game or something.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers that they were putting out though for that like Marvel game that they had were pretty staggering. I mean, it was pretty impressive to see, because I mean they were saying like since October, the game has grossed 1.1 million on 1.8 million downloads, and they're saying that 42% of the revenue came from US and 20% came from South Korea. So if those are their markets and they're trying to get maybe more of a market overseas, then yeah, I'm thinking it might be like another mobile-based game, which is kind of a letdown. But we'll see what happens.
But I mean, that's the way it's all trending now.
Yeah.
The reality is, in 10 years, it's going to be the same market. Mobile and console will just be the same market. It's with the power of the handheld devices coming up and things like the Switch taking off. I see a lot of overlap there. Road.
Interesting. All right, well, let's just get right into our predictions, man. That's what our industry buzz section is going to be this week, and let's start with the big three here, because that's kind of what I'm interested in the most. What do you guys? Let's start with Nintendo, because Nintendo is kind of the more interesting one here. What are you guys expecting out of them this year? And you can just jump on in and start, saying whatever you want here. But yeah, what do you expect? Are you expecting more ports? Are you expecting more original games? Like, are we going to see that Switch 2.0 hardware? That's the refresh that has been rumored. What do you guys think?
I think there's going to be. I think this year is pretty much going to be like all of my predictions are pretty much just preparation for the next generation of consoles. Okay. So I do see Nintendo probably touting something on the lines of coming out with their newer version of the Switch. I think that's going to be their hardware kind of reveal. Mm-hmm. But as far as video games are concerned, I still think that they're relying heavily on bringing in those ports from the other less popular consoles, or even from ones that like held a very nostalgic place in people's hearts. Mm-hmm. So I see them kind of relying on that right now, but I do see maybe one or two, maybe like big IPs, or not big IPs, but like properties that are pretty popular with their Nintendo core gaming. I know it might not be that popular to you, but I'm looking forward to a new Fire Emblem game at some point, probably this year. And I'd like to see that Metroid game come out this year as well.
Yeah.
Well, and Pokemon, like the proper Gen 8 game, is supposed to come out, and that'll be big.
Animal Crossing as well. That'll sell a lot. I know they announced today that Dragon's Dogma is coming to the Switch. So
we've moved on to 2014's greatest games.
Yeah. So the ports are still coming. But I mean, hardcore Nintendo fans kind of stick to Nintendo, I notice. Like, you think a lot of these people are going to suck these games up because they've never played them before, because they've never really been on Nintendo platforms?
I'd be inclined to try them, specifically since I haven't had a Nintendo console proper since the Super Nintendo, since before I bought my Switch. So, there's a lot of content there for me to delve into if it's, got the updated graphics, and, it's something that people have said that it's one of those, checklist items that you need to play, if you've ever had a Nintendo console. So I'd be inclined to give them a try. Does that mean like I'm going to be right there day one, like eagerly waiting for it? No, a lot of those things, if it's not a brand new game or a franchise I'm interested in, I think I might wait for it to go on sale and, maybe try to pick it up cheaper.
Yeah, but what about the opposite? What about people that only buy Nintendo consoles and a lot of this stuff they've never played before because they don't buy PlayStation and Xbox platforms, Something like Dragon's Dogma. I mean, I think that's why they still continue to throw these ports out there.
Well, and it's funny because Dragon's Dogma in particular is really representative of like that old Super NES game. Like that's a type of game that would have come out on a Super NES way back when, like back before Final Fantasy left for Sony and all that. It was very indicative of like that type of stuff, and so it's interesting to see it all come full circle. From good point there that I think a lot of people that only in Nintendo's ecosystem, there's a market there. There's people that will branch out to see what all these other games are. I just don't think that's that many people. You know, I mean, my issue is the Switch has been out for long enough that we're probably going to see a second iteration of it this year, and we're still talking about ports. Like that's my problem with it. You know, like the first 2 years were Portland, and I got it. You know, it was Portlandia. Like while we fill in the back burner here, like let's get all this stuff out. But that ship has sailed. I don't want ports anymore. I just don't. Where's new stuff, you know?
Yeah, but Nintendo is pretty good at keeping things under wraps. Like every time they have a Nintendo Direct, they always announce stuff that surprises us that they drop just on a whim. They kind of announce these things pretty close to when they're going to actually drop the release dates. So I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're not aware of that could be coming out this year that haven't even told us about. And I think that's probably very much the case. So
I hope so.
I think we're going to see still a lot of ports this year, but I don't think the ports will drive that console like it did last year. That's my predictions for them. I think we're going to get like a balance between the two, sort of in the middle.
My prediction is there won't be a major game this year, though. I think you would know about it.
Like a Zelda or a Mario.
Yeah, or even that Metroid game. I don't think Metroid comes out this year.
Yeah, we haven't heard squat about it. So
yeah, I mean, we've seen a title card. There hasn't even been like assets released. You know, it's one of those things where I can't believe it does.
Every time it's rumored that's going to be shown, it never shows up. Like the Game Awards and E3 and CES, not CES. I'm sorry, what was the Gamescom, like stuff like that? Like, and it just never shows up. I don't know. I don't know. What about you, Shannon?
About Nintendo?
Yeah, like just overall this year.
Well, I already gave my predictions, but I mean, I don't know. I hope that they pull it together and do more than ports, because I look through. I hope they clean up their online that whole debacle as well, because like going through that game store is kind of lame.
Where's the special sales they promised us for the online?
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of the sales pop up in like that. You know, I'm always checking that on sale like area, but you know, a lot of those titles, they're not. I mean, if it's a main title from Nintendo, if it's a Nintendo proper title, it's usually like 10% off. Everything else is like 20 or 35%. But yeah, 10% off is not enough to make me pull the trigger on one of your games, especially when it's been out for like a year. Like, you gotta.
That store, I mean, I appreciate that they open the floodgates to independent developers, but that store needs curation in the worst way. Like,
there's a lot of junk. Yeah.
Man, is it bad. I mean, it's not Steam level bad, but on consoles, it's about as bad as you're going to find.
Yeah, it's not really too easy to kind of navigate through, especially if you're not in like handheld mode, like you use a touchscreen. Yeah, if you have to use a controller, that is a chore to navigate through.
Yeah, absolutely. What about Microsoft? I mean, I think it's too late in the game for them to catch up to Sony or anything like that. But I mean,
on hardware. On
hardware. I mean, is this the year where they just continue to build towards next gen, or are they actually going to try to tackle on Sony with some first party stuff? Because I mean, it seems to me that all the studios that they bought that they announced last year, I don't think any of them have games ready.
No. But this is the year you're going to see Gears. You're going to see Halo. Like that all comes out this year.
I'm questioning Halo. I don't know about that one. The Gears for sure. Halo, I don't know. We still haven't seen squat on that one yet.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
But you know, I mean, I think this will be the year where they're already starting to lay the groundwork for the next generation for their console with the Game Pass. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to lay into that a lot more this year. I think, a lot of those bigger titles are going to go into that Game Pass category, just because I think on that next console, they're not going to have like a physical drive that you can put a game into. I think they're going to try to get that Games Pass subscription to be that moneymaker for them. Like you pay that $70 a year, you get the access to their library. You want to play that game, like you'll have that subscription. You can play the game. If you want the additional content, you'll pay for the additional content on the games that you like. I think that's what they're going to see. I think you're going to start to see a lot more of the groundwork going so that when they get to that next generation where Sony's still trying to find that innovation, I think that they're already going to have it there and they're just going to be on the ground running. And the only thing I really worry about for them is having those titles. So, I mean, it's really important that this year, in addition to laying the groundwork and actually getting people hyped on that Game Pass subscription, that they have the games to start backing that subscription up. And I like what they're doing so far with like the games that they've released and seeing the buzz about people in our Facebook group, like talking about the games that they're playing with Game Pass and how it's, like Zach said, it's, you know, it's really kind of reducing his impulse buying.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, it completely is.
I mean, that's a big driving factor for a lot of people, especially parents. And I think if that word starts getting around that they have this subscription where you can play pretty much a huge chunk of their backlog, that's going to drive sales for that next generation of consoles.
Yeah. I mean, 6 months of that is one game. So, I mean, that's 6 months of them being able to play what they want. And they're doing a really good job of adding games to that thing. I mean, I had the app on my phone, the Games Pass app, and I'm always getting notifications of new stuff popping in there. So what do you guys think about an actual publisher hopping on board Game Pass? Like, will we see an Ubisoft or something day one games on this? Do you think they'll partner with someone like that eventually?
No, because I think it would cost Microsoft too much money to do that. Like, you know, it would take a big chunk of money for an Ubisoft or someone to give up those sales themselves.
Would they raise the price?
Well, what if they just made their own Game Pass? You know, I mean, EA basically did with EA Access.
And we're going to get to the cord cutting problem where everyone's got their own streaming service. Or, you know,
it's coming for sure. And I think that's going to be the battle for the next generation. Is what deals do Microsoft make with, you know, the Ubis, Bethesdas, so on and so forth, these developers, and vice versa? Who does Sony get in their stable for their passes? Because it's, while Microsoft doesn't have the first party titles right now to make Game Pass a standalone Microsoft only viable thing, they're bringing on enough content from enough different developers that they've got connections happening right now. Like, there's things in the works. Like, they are, you know, there are games that are not Microsoft games all over Game Pass. And so it'll be interesting to see if that, to Shannon's point, if that groundwork that they're laying down now really starts to pay dividends in 2 to 3 years, when now all those studios you acquired last year's games are coming out and those things are all hitting, plus these other companies' games and stuff. I don't see them coming like first party titles unless these companies get acquired by Microsoft. I just see too much money having to change hands for that to happen. But say it's Bethesda and you know that the next Doom is a month down the road, like a month after release, it shows up on Game Pass. I'm probably going to buy it get it on Game Pass. You know, like if with my backlog and everything, I can wait the month and not have to buy it. You know,
sort of like the red box of game services where you got to wait a month after the release in order to play it. Yeah.
Or they go the other way where it's a real limited window. It's day and date, but it's 2 weeks, you know, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like time like that. That's interesting. Do you think this is a year where we might see the two services merge?
God, they should. Man, they really should.
I think they should.
I think you get rid of games with gold entirely and just make it Game Pass. Like, why? I don't need games with gold.
I don't even really play those games with gold games much. I mean, it's very rare. I'm more interested in what they're throwing on Game Pass than anything.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, now that I have Game Pass, I really don't touch any games with gold stuff. Like, I barely did before, but now, man.
Most of them end up on Game Pass anyways.
Well, yeah, exactly. And most of them I don't want to keep forever. I'm fine with them cycling out, you know? Wait, I can't play that piece of crap game from July anymore. Oh well. Yeah.
Oh, you can't have Steep.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, it was really awesome when they started the whole PlayStation Plus games with gold thing. I don't really play any of that stuff anymore. You know, like I think that they could go. I mean, now there's probably people that are cursing us out right now, like, no, we love that stuff, you know.
I
And
know.
I understand, you know, if you're someone that just subscribes to it and that's a lot of what you play, you know, I understand. But I think Game Pass is such a better substitute for that. I would agree with you. I think they should just get rid of games with gold, merge the two together,
Yep.
maybe charge $15 a month instead of 10, and just let you have both. I don't know. I hope we see that.
Well, and also it brings the value to the games that you're offering on Game Pass, that anything that has multiplayer now, it's just part of it. You know, you can just play. It's just part of Game Pass now. It's like you don't need this whole separate account to have multiplayer and all the stuff that's attached to that.
Yeah.
You can just roll it all out as one single service. It's got to make it a lot more manageable on their back end too, to just streamline it into one thing.
I wonder if that's going to be the big next gen feature for them, where they just roll it all into one. You know, maybe that's one of the things that will make a new Xbox console enticing.
Yeah, I could see holding that back until the next generation. But we've said it multiple times on here. I think the next generation is just going to be the next Xbox One X. It's not going to. There's not going to be the Xbox One 2. You know, like it's just it's just going to be the next Xbox. So that's all it's going to be.
Yeah, it's like an iPhone. Just keep calling it iPhone. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let's roll on to Sony. What do you guys think about Sony this year? I mean, I think what comes to mind with Sony is, what do they have this year? Because I know that we have Days Gone for sure coming out here in like 2 or 3 months.
We all have Days Gone. God damn it, the band. That game looks so rough.
Yeah, I just don't want another zombie game, man. Like, I'm just tired of fucking zombies.
Also, I really don't want that zombie game. I mean, I hope I eat my words. I hope that it comes out and it's fucking great. But man, dude, that was 2 E3s of just like hot garbage. Those trailers and like gameplay demos, and
so Sony doesn't have the best track record too.
And it's like, look at the way the bodies fall. Yeah, human bodies don't fall like water. Like, what is this? What am I watching? Like, this is not how, like...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Zach, you cut out on us again.
Yeah, I'm having some Wi-Fi issues. I'm trying to see if I can... But, I don't know. It's back to working now, so...
Okay. Gotcha. What do you think, Shannon?
Oh, I don't know. Like I said, in keeping with my just hardware updates, I think I'm going to go and say that we're probably going to see a little bit of like a trickling of information about the next PlayStation, the PlayStation 5 or whatever they're going to call it. Some more concrete information, because there's a lot of rumors floating around out there right now, but I don't see a lot of innovation coming from Sony right now, just because they're the top dog in the market, and who knows how much longer they got to actually how much longer before the next generation of consoles comes out. So I think they're just going to probably sit there, and they're just going to keep sitting on their laurels. And I think they'll just like kind of rely on the revenue that they're bringing in from their like huge titles. I mean, Spider-Man's still crushing it. I mean, I think they said something like 9 million copies have been sold so far, since its release. And they have like brand new content that's coming out. They just like leaked, or they just I guess put up like a bit of a leak today about Fantastic Four, like possible DLC content for it. So I'm thinking
hey, there's something I don't want to play.
Yeah.
So I think I think they're just gonna kind of sit back and just kind of keep going with their projected forecast as far as games is concerned that they have for the year.
You're going to be more quiet this year.
Yeah, I think they're just going to kind of give us some crumbs just to keep us interested in what they're working on.
And I think that's a mistake. I think it's a mistake.
But that's Sony though. Sony's never. I don't think Sony's ever really pushed the envelope as far as innovation goes on any of their product releases. I don't think.
I mean, I could see this being the year they go all in on VR. If maybe instead of a PlayStation 5 announcement, you could get a VR 2 announcement. Something like a new helmet, a new streaming line, less wires, something, something that make it more palatable, because they did kind of quietly do a huge VR push at the end of the year there. And so I could see them, especially if their long-term plan is to integrate the VR system into the PS5 ecospace, seamlessly to make that just a thing that happens, then this could be the year they ramp up to that. But yeah, to your point, yeah, I'm a little nervous for Sony this year because there ain't a lot in the hopper. There really isn't.
Yeah, I agree with Shannon. I think they're just going to be kind of quiet this year. So I'm going to throw this at you guys. Do you think we'll hear anything about next gen this year?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think I think this will be the year that they actually start getting people hyped for the next generation. And and I don't know why it was so quick with this one. I feel it was quick. We're only in like year 5 for this generation.
Yeah.
I just feel that that's like a really quick turnaround to start really talking about the next generation of consoles, especially since the PlayStation 3 lasted, like 10 years?
Yeah.
So, I'd like to see a little bit more longevity out of the consoles just because, it's a pretty hefty investment in the beginning, upfront cost as far as getting into it. So, I'd like to maybe get a couple more years out of this console before I feel I need to upgrade to like the next generation of hotness. But
yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone has alluded to 2020 being the year that we get new hardware. I think that maybe one of them, maybe not both, but maybe Microsoft or Sony might pull what they did with the Switch. Maybe in like November, maybe they'll tease it and show something, and then they'll actually give you most of the details like the following year, sort of like Nintendo did with the Switch. I think we might see that. I think they might announce something but not actually give you the full details until the following year, like maybe around spring, and then that thing launches like winter 2020. That's what I'm expecting out of them. So I think we will hear something. But
now, who do you think pulls the trigger first? Like Sony, Microsoft?
I think Microsoft will. I mean, they've already announced that they're making something. And technically, Sony hasn't really said they're making shit. I mean, we all know it's coming, but we know that Mark Cerny has, talked about like they were doing research on, what I know, but Microsoft is the only one that actually in a press conference that said we're working on next gen right now. So I think they're gearing up hardcore to get ready for that. And I think they're gonna try to pull a 360 and jump out the gate first.
Well, but it's, I don't know, just circling back to what Shannon said, where like the last generation PS3 was like 10 years and 360 was like 8 years. Those were the anomaly, though. Like that was, if you go back through like the history of video games, 5 years, 6 years is normal. Like that's the normal run. It was just they hit this really weird spot where the power was more than the developers needed for a longer run, and then the games sold really well. Like it's the reason God of War Ascension and Gears of War, the fourth one that I can't remember the name of. Yeah, that's the reason both those came out. Those games never were supposed to come out. It's just the consoles generation kept going. So they were like, well, I guess we'll make more of these. I don't know. And so it doesn't really surprise me that, looking, what it'll be, well, in 2020, it would be 7 years since the Xbox release, and then 6 years for the PS4. That doesn't shock me at all. That seems about right. Yeah. And especially when you look in the PC world and just the jump graphics have taken, and like the prevalence of 4K since 2013 and 2014, like how that's just become the standard, and 60 frames a second has become the standard, and all these things that have changed in that time. The hardware needs to catch up. And so I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to me, but
yeah.
No. I mean, do you think it's smart that Microsoft comes out first? I mean, like them being behind in this generation of sales. Like, I mean, isn't kind of like showing your hand to your,
in a sense,
and Sony is too. They like to copy shit when they come.
Well, and that was the big failing of the one. Like they released the Xbox One press conference and had the worst reception possible because it had a lot of bad ideas. And then Sony jumped on that shit on E3 and was like, guess what? We're going to have all the shit they don't have. And like, and people ate it up. And it took until the Xbox One S came out for Microsoft to like start to dig themselves out of that hole. It really took that long. And you could argue this whole generation was lost in that moment. So I think coming out first is viable as long as all of those ducks are in a row. Like, is your online plan rock solid? Is the Game Pass integration rock solid? Do you have games lined up that people want to actually play? That's all things like that. Those things all need to be slotted in if you're going to be first. Because if you're not, all you're doing is leaving the door wide open. So
if you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby.
That's been my understanding.
So I want to jump in. I want to play a little game here real quick. This is a list of does it come out this year? Okay. So I'm going to throw some titles at you guys. I want you to tell me if you think they're actually going to show up this year or they're going to get delayed. Now, some of them we don't have release dates for, so, saying it's going to get delayed is a far-fetched because they haven't really said when it's going to come out to begin with. But I want to see if you guys can guess these. So first and foremost, Cyberpunk. Do we see that in 2019?
No,
Okay.
we don't see that till like 2022. Like,
really? I think
that would be like a rollout in the first year of the new generation of consoles.
I think it's going to be.
What you can do.
I think it's going to be cross-gen. I think we're going to see it on both.
I'm more on Shannon's side with that. I see that as a I wouldn't even say beginning cycle next gen. I'd say mid cycle next gen. I mean, that they're when you read about what they're trying to do with that game and then graphically what they're trying to do, man. That would be one of those things. Like, I could see it coming out in 2020 on PC and then like a year later coming to console or something.
I could see myself putting that in my stock PlayStation 4 because I'm not going to a Pro at this point, and just having it spontaneously combust because it can't handle what that game is.
It turns off and just starts crying softly in the corner.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Just spit right back out. Nope.
They claim it's coming to this current gen, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
I will believe that when I see it.
Okay. Doom Eternal. Do we see that this year?
This year?
I'd say December.
You know what? Yes. I'm going to say that's a holiday release for sure.
Okay. I think they kind of need it this year.
Yeah.
Bethesda's got a big sore spot on them, and they need something positive.
You want to talk about people working overtime? I think Bethesda's going to have a lot of overtime this year.
Yeah, they got a big old cold sore sitting right on their lip called Fallout 76.
Okay, so Doom's probably going to be a
canvas bag.
The Doom's a holiday release.
I'd say so, somewhere between August and December. Sure.
Okay. What about Last of Us 2?
No. I haven't even seen anything. I mean, I haven't really seen. I saw that one trailer for it, but
it looks pretty far along.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Apparently, Alana Pierce from who was on used to be on IGN. She tweeted that game's definitely coming out this year, from what she's heard. But I mean, take to what it is because she's not really in the game industry anymore. So I don't know.
But also, I could say that would solve what Sony released for the holidays. That would solve that problem.
That would be to me. That would be the biggest thing they could release this year.
Yeah, so that would make a lot of sense for Sony to really buckle down and get it done this year. Just because, literally, what else would they have?
I would have to say I see them going for the end of this year for their holiday sale, but I also see it getting delayed because it's such a huge title and it's got such a big. So many people hold it in such high regard. I think that they have to nail it. So I think that it'll get postponed.
But I think that's why it didn't come out last year. For that exact reason you said. I think they are giving it as much time as it needs, and
they're no stranger to delays too. They did with Uncharted. So Uncharted 4.
I mean, I'm not saying it's going to go Crackdown 3 status, but yeah, Crackdown 3, does that come out this year?
Next month, man. Next month.
Well,
we'll get there. Don't worry. Hold your horses. What about Ghost of Tsushima?
Nah, that's next gen, I think.
You think it's next gen? I think that game looked a little rough in some spots, so I still think it's this gen. I don't know if we're going to get it.
I mean,
I'm going to say this is their February-March game for next year.
That's an interesting time frame.
I could kind of see
that. That's when they drop God of War. That's when they're dropping Days Gone. I mean, they usually drop a game around February, March. So I think that might be their 2020 kind of let's roll out the PlayStation 4 with a bang kind of game.
Drop Days Gone.
Let's go with it.
Trash.
Yeah. What about Death Stranding?
No.
Nah, I say
No.
next gen.
Next gen. I think that's another one that's going to be cross gen. I think it's going to be on PS4 and PS5.
That's a we're selling systems, or like PS5s. That's a where we need to sell PS5s. So here's Death Stranding. You know.
Okay. What about Halo Infinite?
I think that comes out this year.
Think so?
I do. Yeah. I think they're being really cagey about what it is, but it would not shock me at all if it was a Black Ops 4 multiplayer with, a battle royale and a bunch of other modes in it, and not a proper Halo game.
I kind of want a Halo with a battle royale. That would be.
I'm not gonna lie. I would play the fuck out of it, but I mean, I love me some Halo, so
yeah, kind of. Yeah, I don't know, 100 Master Chiefs on a Halo.
Dude.
Who survives?
Like if have some be like the shot what are the ODST squads, and you could have some brutes, and you could just give me that. Yep, I'm down.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well, I'm hoping that's this year too, because I think Microsoft needs it. So.
Yeah, they need something.
But are they going to drop Halo and Gears in the same year?
Yep.
If it's a battle, if it's just a Halo battle royale, I think they will.
Yeah, that's my thing. I don't think Halo Infinite's a proper Halo game. I think it's going to be its own. It's going to be like an ODST. It'll be its own thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's my guess.
What about the Final Fantasy VII remake?
No.
Do we see it at all this year?
Do we see it? No. They want you to forget about it.
Well, now that Kingdom Hearts is coming out and that's kind of off their plate, do you think they'll talk about it more now? Because I don't think it'll be this year either.
No, I don't think so. I think they pushed to get that little trailer out that they showed, and I don't think anything is near far enough along to start talking about it.
Okay.
I think they need to come up with a clearer picture of how they're going to release the other chunks of that game. Because I think they kind of pissed people off when heard that they heard that it's just getting out of Midgard for the first game.
Yeah.
And still, I mean, that if it looks the way that it does, then I'm all for probably jumping on board that ship. But let me know how am I going to be 56 by the time this game's finished being released? I need to know what your time frame is for the rest of this game.
I think
you were in your 20s when they first talked about Kingdom Hearts 3. So
probably
maybe
yeah, it was 13 years, right? From 2 to 3. Yeah,
exactly. So
oh boy.
What about Beyond Good and Evil 2?
No. I don't think so.
I don't think that game is anywhere near being out.
Also, to your point earlier, that's a game they have to nail. They've got to get that game right. And so it's been too long. It's taken too crazy of a route to get to where we are for the game to even exist. It has to be an amazing game when they release it, and I don't think they'll ever release it until that's the case. That game never comes out half-assed.
The cool thing is they're not hush-hush about that game. They keep showing off new stuff every so often, but the problem is everything they show is just sort of like a build-up. I mean, not a build-up. It's more of a an improvement of what they've already shown. They just kind of add more elements to what we've already seen to make it look like it has a bigger scope now. I don't really see much new with what they're showing also. I don't think that game's coming anytime soon. Not at all. All right, so we're going to go through another list of games here, and I want you to tell me if this game is going to be a success or a flop. And you guys can give me some details of what you think. We're going to start Resident Evil 2. Does that work out for them, or is that a flop?
Yes, I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna succeed.
More so than Resident Evil 7, because Resident Evil 7 sold well, but not as well as they wanted it to.
Well, Capcom always has lofty goals for their sales, don't they? I mean, they always really set their bar high.
They do.
I think Resident Evil 2 is a bigger success than 7 simply because people know Resident Evil 2. It's a game that our generation that stopped playing video games 10 years ago when we all kept soldiering on, they all played Resident Evil 2. And so, visually it's stunning. If it plays a lot like 7, it's going to be a great game to play. It'll be fun. That engine works really, really well. And so it'll be a great jumping on point for people that'll be like, oh, I used to have that. Or, oh, I just bought this game or PS4 to play Spider-Man, so I might as well give this a shot. I remember this is a game that existed. And if it's also good, I think that game just needs to be good to be a big success, I think. It's successful regardless, but if it's also a good game on top of that, I think it's a major success.
Yeah, and like Zach was talking about last week, Capcom is on fire right now. Like they got the secret sauce, and they're just pumping out these games that like people are enjoying playing, and they're
so very weird to say.
Yeah, I know, right? So and it's a very, I don't know what the formula is that they're going with right now, but they got it, and good for them, because for a while there, it was I did not trust Capcom to put out a good game, but
I think this game is going to be huge for them. There's a lot of people that have a lot of nostalgia for that game, including myself.
Me too.
And not only that, but the game pretty much looks like everything I could want in a Resident Evil game. I mean, it looks like they could nail like the perfect, formula here for a Resident Evil game. So I'm really excited for that game, and we're getting in like another couple weeks. So we get a demo this weekend. Also,
yeah, I'm excited for that. It's like try to get as far as you can in 30 minutes once. That's a cool idea. I like the idea.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to play that as well. So we'll probably get some details on that next week.
That's going to be a rough week too, because that's the same week that Kingdom Hearts comes out, right?
I think Kingdom Hearts comes out after Resident Evil.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Give me some time to recuperate. That's fine.
Yeah. So speaking of Kingdom Hearts, is that game a success or a flop?
Ooh, I think it's gonna. I'm gonna go success. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a success.
I think it's gonna be on par with not Resident Evil. I'm sorry, Final Fantasy 15, kind of in sales and success. Like I think you'll see a lot of people out of the gate jumping on it, but I think probably 3 or 4 months from now, the game will drop like a rock in price, and by the holidays, it's $20. That's what I'm thinking. I still think a lot of people aren't sold on Kingdom Hearts. It has a huge fan base, don't get me wrong, but that shit's kind of weird too. I mean, it's a goofy-ass series.
I agree with you, but the fan base, I think, is one of those, it's as big as it can get without getting mainstream. Like, it's not a mainstream fan base. Yeah, like Resident Evil 2 is a mainstream fan base.
Yeah.
Where I think Kingdom Hearts is still niche. It's huge. It's a big niche, but it's still niche. And it's also one of those things. If they nail it, if they can create a really good, compelling game that is up to modern standards, that doesn't play like it came out 12 years ago, that's just pretty, then sure, I think it could be a big hit. It's Disney. Like, people love Disney shit, like they'll be all over it.
Here's what I'm concerned about, though. That story is so convoluted. Can they get new players roped into this without being absolutely confused?
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think going back to Zach's point is that's what kept it from being mainstream, is that they did the 2.1 and the Hyper Sleep Dream Star Remix 2.7 and they came out with all these extra games for systems that people might not have had to play these games on, and you lose story chunks. And then to make the situation worse, I mean, they only revamped each collection maybe 3 or 4 times. So I had the time 13 years ago to maybe enjoy these games, but here we are 13 years later. I have a family, I have a job, I have responsibilities. I'm not going to go back and play those games. So yeah, I think maybe when I go back into this game, I mean, unless they give you a Cliff Notes rundown in the beginning where there's maybe a 5-minute movie.
And if they're smart, they will.
Yeah. Then let me kind of get the Cliff Notes version of what's happening, and then I'll jump into it. But yeah, that all goes back to Zach's point. They need to stick the landing on this game. It's as simple as that. If you can make it simple enough for people to get back into and enjoy, then I think it'll be a pretty good success for the series.
Okay. What about Anthem?
I hope it's a success. I want it so bad to be a success.
I want that game to be successful. I want good Destiny. I really do.
I think it's going to be a flop. And
That hurts me.
I'm the one of the three who have played it. I can't say anything about it because it was under NDA, but I think EA is going to fuck that up somehow. I have no confidence in EA right now.
Okay, what if EA doesn't just screw the pooch on it? Like if
I think the game has a lot of potential. I think the game has a lot of potential. But I think EA is going to be EA and do something that's going to ruin this game.
But you don't think they learned their lesson?
No.
I also could see this game being a Destiny or like Rainbow Six Siege, where the player base now is as big as it's ever been for those games, where it doesn't necessarily need to be the hit out of the gate. It just has to be rock solid. Like it just has to have that good core solid player base that will grow over time. Like this is a game they're releasing to be being played in 3 or 4 years. Like it's not. This isn't Resident Evil 2, where this is just it's all in one package and that's it, and we're moving on to the next thing. Like there'll be Anthem teams at EA for a decade working on this thing.
I feel like that EA is doing what EA has been doing the past, actually this whole generation now, and even last generation, is that they're taking developers and they're making them do games that aren't in their wheelhouse. And I think Anthem is not in BioWare's wheelhouse. I think they excel at RPGs and telling these like big magnificent stories, and I don't think Destiny is in their wheelhouse. I think that they were forced to make something like this.
But like sucking at something is the first step to getting good at something. So I mean, like give them the chance to make that game. And I think as long as they have enough content to keep that game fresh, I think that's Destiny's problem, is that even with the stock game, there was not enough content there to keep people coming back to playing it. So what I think needs to happen is I think you just need to get enough content to keep that game fresh, to give it the legs, to get the people into the game, and just let them enjoy it. Because the hardcore base is going to get tired of that game relatively fast if there's not enough content for them to plow through with their teams.
Yeah. You guys hear that mic feedback?
Yeah, I don't know where I'm getting it from. It's getting bad.
Whoa, I don't hear it at all. Is it me?
From me? Maybe it's from me.
No, it just went away.
Is it gone?
Yeah, it's gone now.
Yeah,
I think it might have been me, because I had my phone sitting kind of by the mic, but
that was probably it.
Yeah, but usually it's where it usually always sits, so that isn't usually an issue. But weird. Interesting.
Okay.
Ruined all my good points with that stupid feedback.
No, it's fine. All right. Yeah, I don't know. We had some weird static going on there for a second. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I think we corrected it. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. Crackdown 3. What do you guys think?
Flop.
I think it's going to be a flop too. I think it's going to be another Crackdown 2. I think that game has been through the ringer, and the rumors of Phil Spencer going and checking that game out and telling them they need to go back to the drawing board. I think that thing's just been through the ringer, and I don't think it's going to be very good.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the Shyamalan twist to this. I think it's going to be a good game, and I think it's going to flop. I think it's just to the point now where it can be a great game and no one cares anymore. Like that game needed to come out 2 years ago. And you know what? If it wasn't ready, kudos to them for making sure it was right before they released it. Like that's good. I'm happy you did that if that's the case. But you talked about it way too long. No one cares anymore. And that the world has just moved on from Crackdown. Like no one's excited for this. No one.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And I mean, it might have a good following because it comes out on Game Pass. That's why I'm going to play it, but I wouldn't buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm actually excited for it because I love the first one so much. Like that game was so much fun, and I want that again. Like I want them to give me that experience again, but fresh. And I'm hoping this is it. But I'm not too hopeful. And yeah, I mean, Game Pass. Yeah, there's no way in hell I'm going to buy this game. I'm just going to subscribe to Game Pass for a month and check it out and get my fill, and then be done with it.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm not too hopeful with that one either. What about Metro Exodus?
I think it's going to be successful for what it is. That game, the Metro games have never been world beaters, but they've always been really, really good games. And to everything I've seen about Exodus leads me to believe it's another one of those that'll probably be a very, very good game. That's a lot of fun to play. That, like, unless you're a person that listens to gaming podcasts, you're never even going to hear about it.
Yeah,
And I hope it does. I hope it does well enough that they keep going, because the studio makes great stuff. So
it's not going to be a 6-7 million seller, more like maybe a 1-2 million seller.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that's pretty easy. Pretty easy to agree with. What about Shenmue 3?
So I'm going to say flop.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think that game is going to flop too, which makes me horribly sad because I've been waiting for that game for so long. I think they're not going to learn anything from the development of the last two, and I think they're going to stick way too close to that style of gameplay, and the things that people complained about will not get addressed, and it's going to be too similar to the originals, and people are going to get kind of frustrated with it.
Well, even outside of that bubble, Shenmue 3 exists in a world where there are 8 Yakuza games now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and if they've been taking notes the whole time and it comes out with a modern, fresh feel to it that feels like a natural evolution of all those in the Shenmue wrapper, then they'll have something, and that'll probably be a really good game. I just don't have a lot of faith that that's going to happen at all.
Oh, sorry, Shannon, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was going to say also, like, speaking just from my general point of view, like, I was always like a kind of close to the top, like close to the surface type of gamer. So like the game would have to generally be pretty popular for me to want to pay attention to it. This game, the Shenmue series, like, never really made it to that level for me to pay attention to it. So I think I'm a little different than you are. I mean, being such a fan of the series, like, I tend to think that they're probably going to put out a pretty good quality game for the fans of the series, but just because it's not because it's more of a niche video gaming like title, I think that it's just not going to hit the numbers that they want it to hit. So I think for that reason it's going to be a flop, but I'm hoping that they've paid attention to their donors and the concerns that they had about the last couple releases, and that they fixed those problems for you guys.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hopeful. I think that releasing that collection last year may have actually hurt that game, just because people see how horribly it aged, and they probably don't want more of that, and they might ignore Shenmue 3. I don't know. I'm really hoping that game is awesome because I want it to be, but we'll see what happens. I'm very iffy on that one. Let's see. We already talked about Days Gone. You guys think that's going to be a flop?
Oh yeah, they're sending that. They are sending that out to die.
I don't think it's going to be a flop. I think it's going to be sort of a Detroit Become Human kind of level of game. I think they're going to sell decently, but not enough to
I'm pretty sure Detroit was a flop.
Yeah. No, I mean it sold okay. I think it's going to be about the same. So I don't know. We'll find out though very soon. What about Devil May Cry 5?
It's Capcom, right?
Yeah.
I think it'll
run on the RE engine also.
Yeah, I think it's going to be mixed. I think it'll be right in the middle. I don't think it's going to be like a huge success, and I don't think it's going to be a major flop.
I don't think this series ever has been a huge success. I mean, I don't think it's ever been like hugely popular. I don't remember people going out and clamoring for the newest Devil May Cry game.
No, I think a lot of people got their fill.
I'd play though.
Yeah. I think a lot of people got their fill from like the first original Devil May Cry. I mean that I bought it. I was hyped for it, but yeah, I mean after I played that first game, I wasn't clamoring for a sequel. So I think I'm surprised this series has the legs it does. Like bravo to them.
I'm not the biggest fan of Devil May Cry.
You didn't get on message boards and complain about when they changed his hair and all that.
No. I
actually the one that everyone hated that Ninja Theory made, that was my favorite one of the bunch. I actually really liked that game.
With DMC.
I thought DMC was pretty cool. So Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only one other than DMC that I actually finished to completion was Devil May Cry 4, which was okay. But 1 through 3, I didn't really care for. So I don't know. Well, I'll give it a shot. There's a demo. Like I have the demo on my Xbox. I just haven't played it yet. I mean, this speaks to the game. Like I have the demo sitting there. When Resident Evil 2 comes out, I will be there as soon as I get off work playing that damn thing. Devil May Cry's been sitting on my Xbox for a month and I still haven't even touched it. So I don't know. So here's an interesting one. What about the Division 2?
I think it's a big success.
I am going to agree with you because I think the first one was pretty big, and I'm hoping that they really listen to the feedback that everyone gave from the first one. I hope they improve it. I really liked the concept of that game. It's just the kind of gameplay loop didn't really work for me. The game got old really fast.
But that is one of those games that is sneakily huge.
Is this like the Watch Dogs 2 of the franchise here, where the first one was kind of meh?
But like so many people still play the Division. That's what I mean. Like people like it has a huge audience very quietly. Like it doesn't rank on a lot of things like gear lists and stuff like that, but a ton of people play the Division. And so it would, if it's a Destiny 2 or, you know, or that sort of growth to it, then yeah, I think it could be really big.
Think it'll be bigger than Anthem?
I think that's probably they're going to be competing for a similar audience, but yeah.
Out of the two, I'd rather play the Division 2, to be honest with you.
That's actually, I hadn't made that comparison in my head yet, but yeah, I could see the Division being bigger than Anthem. Then again, but see, if Anthem hits right, no, Anthem's going to kill it. You know, like it's one of those things like Anthem, Anthem has the higher ceiling, I think. But Division 2 has the way higher floor. But
I think in terms of like content, I think that post-apocalyptic stuff seems to do better than like mechs and robots.
I don't know. Like I'm more inclined to play Anthem than I am the Division 2. And you know, so I'm all on board. And primarily I'm also gonna play Anthem a lot more because the last time I played the Division, I let Robbie die, and I don't think he'll ever play multiplayer with me again in the game. So I think I'm just gonna stick over to Anthem and just have my fun over there. But yeah, so I don't know, like I didn't really hear a lot of people clamoring for the Division. Like, you know, if I brought up the Division when I was talking to my friends about video games, they were more inclined to, you know, talk about the bullet sponginess of the enemies and just the content kind of lacking as far as, you know, the just what there is to do in the game. It's similar to any of those like open world shooters. But, you know, so I don't know, like if they don't get the secret sauce right, I think it's going to be a flop. So I'm going to go opposite you two. I'm just going to say flop just to be different.
Okay. What about Sekiro? Shadows Die Twice. Is that going to be as big as Dark Souls?
No.
I don't think it will either. I think that game is in between Dark Souls and a some kind of what like a Ninja Gaiden. And I think that
Tenchu. It looks very Tenchu.
Yeah. I think people like me who adore Dark Souls aren't gonna enjoy this as much as a Dark Souls game. I'm excited for it, but I also think that it's not gonna have what I need that like a Dark Souls game has in order to keep me going through that difficulty. I think it's gonna be more of like a Ninja Gaiden kind of thing, and I don't know. I'm a little concerned about it. I think it's going to be a good game, but whether or not it works for me on a Dark Souls level is what I'm concerned about. But I don't think it's going to sell as well as Dark Souls.
Well, no, but I mean, none of them have sold as well as Dark Souls. You know, like so that's a higher bar to set. I could see it being in the initial Bloodborne range. You know, like. It seems to be a little bit of like Ninja Bloodborne, which, you know, could be all right. Like, and
Bloodborne kind of surprised us all too, because that game went to some places that no one was expecting. This game could do the same. So I don't know. What do you think, Shannon?
I don't know. I don't really play these games, and I don't feel I have enough. I guess enough exposure or experience in this category to tell you if it's going to be a flop or not.
Okay. What about Mortal Kombat 11?
That's going to be a success.
Yeah, I think it will be too. I think it'll be pretty big.
I'm curious. I don't know. Like 10 really didn't hit that well for me. Like 9 was great. I
Me
love
either.
9. But
yeah, I didn't really care for 10 that much.
I bounced right off 10, and you know, and they seem to have learned a lot in the Injustice world with the modifiers and character creator and all that type of stuff. So if they bring that stuff over to 11, I could see it finding an audience that way outside of the normal game. But yeah, I'm kind of curious about MK11, how it's received, because it could be a case in overexposure, I think. But
yeah, I mean, usually these games do pretty good. Never Realm usually is pretty successful, their stuff. So I think it'll be a pretty big game. But my only concern about it is that they didn't hype it up enough. They just kind of like, hey, here it is, and it's coming out in like 3 months, 4 months, or whatever. I think they really need to hype that game up. So
I don't think they need to hype it up though. I think, it's got that following. The people that are going to play that game are going to buy it. Like it's got that Madden effect going on with it. You just get that next version of it to play it. And as long as they got the that visceral, like, X-ray, like show the bones breaking, show the organs being punctured by your spears. Like people love that crap. I mean, that's what's going to be the selling point right there. I mean, I think they were on the right path with making the fatalities easy. I know a lot of people really kind of bitched about that. But I mean, for the casual gamer, that's what they enjoy. Give it an easy mode.
Most people go to Mortal Kombat for the fatalities.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest.
I mean, that's your moneymaker. Like, don't don't make it hard for people to see that stuff. Give it to them.
Yeah. What I'm concerned about with Mortal Kombat 11 is it being just another Mortal Kombat 9, because Mortal Kombat 9 and 10 were very, very similar. I mean, Mortal Kombat 10 looked a lot better, but had more new fighters and stuff in it too. But Mortal Kombat 9 really changed the way Mortal Kombat played. Like they really sort of amplified that game and made it feel fresh and new. Mortal Kombat 10 kind of just felt like more of the same. This game is kind of looking like it's going to be the same thing as well, just kind of more of the same. I hope that it doesn't get stale because of that.
So you kind of think it's going to suffer from like the Forza effect, where like, yeah, it's a great game, it's just more of the same.
Yeah, it could. I don't know, but I mean, do you really need? Do you really need to, innovate a whole lot with this game? I don't know. We'll see. What about Rage 2? What do you think about Rage 2?
Seeing
as the original flopped.
I think it's just going to be lackluster sales that are going to do it in. I mean, the game itself looks fun. It looks intriguing to me, but I don't know if it's going to hit with the target or if it's going to hit with a broader audience. That's just fine. I think it'll be a flop for that reason.
I love the original game, even though no one bought it, and a lot of people bitched about it too. I thought that game was a blast to play from start to finish. My concern about this game is Avalanche doing it. I've played those Just Cause games. They're all right. I mean, there's none of them has ever kept me invested long enough to want to finish one. I'm worried about that kind of falling into this game as well. Will this be a game like a Far Cry that will carry you all the way through it and actually be compelling enough to do so, or will it just be repetitive? Like a Just Cause game is. So, yeah.
It just seemed like the Just Cause games were always like a sandbox to just see what you could do with the enemies and your weapons. So like, what fun stuff could you do? And I think maybe this game will be like that. I mean, I like the more open world thing, where I guess the original one was more of like a hub world kind of thing.
It was sort of open world. It kind of was. It was very similar to Borderlands. With the way their world's set up, had like zones, but they were connected enough to where it felt like it was open world.
Okay, I mean, I'll give it a try. I just don't think. I mean, there's not a lot of buzz about it. There's not a lot of like hype behind that game. So I mean, if they do well, more pleasure, more kudos to them. But I think it's think it's going to be a flop.
Flop. About Psychonauts 2.
I don't know. Like, I've never played a Psychonauts game, so I couldn't really tell you.
There's only one of them, other than that VR game that they made.
Yeah.
I mean, this game was kickstarted, not through Kickstarter. It was like another like a competing,
like
crowdfunding
Indiegogo.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. It was like a weird one I never heard of until this game was started its campaign.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game that when it came out, people loved, but no one bought. It was like a lot of Double Fine games are like that. And in order to even get this game made, they had to crowdfund it. I think this game's going to be a flop. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a flop.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But I mean, all they really have to do in those situations where you have crowdfunding is just kind of I don't know, recoup what you spent on the game.
Yeah, but is that going to really cause them to want to carry on that franchise?
No, but is it a franchise that people want to have carried on?
No, I mean, there's a vocal minority, that would like that like this game. I mean, I don't see the franchise lasting any farther than this game if it flops. And I mean, let's be honest, it's not going to sell that well.
Yeah, I mean, take that time and energy and put it into a new IP. I mean, that's
yeah,
new.
And they've been doing that. I mean, look, the Brutal Legend, which was a pretty big flop too for them, which was one of the most disappointing games I've ever played because I thought that game looked like a heavy metal God of War with Jack Black doing the voice, and it was nothing like that. No. Actually, it was for like the first hour, and then it turned into like a really bad RTS game. So I don't know, man. Like I feel like they've been trying a lot of. Now what was the game that came out a couple years ago? They made Headlander, was it? Was that the name?
Yeah.
It was like a Metroidvania game where your head detaches. Like that game was kind of cool. I don't think it sold very well, but I mean, they try a lot of things, and there's a lot of cool stuff that they come out with. But I never feel like any of those games are successful for them. I'm actually surprised Double Fine's still around.
Yeah. Well, you gotta swing for the fences, and I think a lot of those games that have a lot of innovation behind them, they don't really. I mean, they do enough to make it look graphically pleasing, but I mean, they're not really pushing the envelope on any type of graphical fidelity there. So, I think let them just keep experimenting. I mean, it's all about that one big that big fine just hit that sweet spot with your game, with your audience, and that I mean they've found moderate success. I mean it's enough to keep them going. So by all means, just if you're happy being in that market, just keep hitting it.
Yeah, they're just kind of skating along in that indie realm. I mean they kind of I've never would have called them a AAA publisher. More like a double A maybe. I don't know, but they're just kind of skirting around in the indie area right now and surviving there. So I think this game is going to be treated like that too. It's going to be sort of like an indie game, but one that has a fan base surrounding it. So I'm sure it's going to be good though, but we'll find out. So what about Gears of War 5? Because before you say anything, Gears of War 4, I feel was a step back. Did you play Gears of War 4?
I played. I would say I probably put in about an hour to an hour and a half of that game before I was just before I checked out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I liked what they were touting about it. Like, with that was the one where like you had like the tornado sequence or like the storm sequence, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember playing that and really enjoying it, but I don't know what it was about the game. It just felt boring. Yeah. Despite how much they were trying to put into it, it just felt boring.
It was a game that I really had to push myself to finish. I don't know. Zach, I know you just stepped away for a second. You got any quick thoughts on Rage 2?
I think it's probably a flop. I don't know. I mean, it looks like they're going more for like a Borderlands aesthetic this time around, which, making Rage fun is a good idea because, like you guys said, that first game was a bit of a slog.
I loved it. I loved it.
Man, I didn't. I bounced right off that. But I think that the first game left a bad enough taste in a lot of people's mouth that the second game is going to have to be charming as hell to win people back. And We'll see if they do it. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith, but
Okay. What about Psychonauts 2?
Psychonauts 2, I really want to be a success because, man, I love that first game. I love that first game so much, but it is one of those things where I think it's just been too long. I think the audience that loved Psychonauts has gotten really old now, myself included. And, I don't know if it's going to bring new people back into the fold. I love Double Fine as a developer. I love the imagination they put into their products. I think they're quirky and fun as hell. And Psychonauts was really before its time. Like, there were a lot of aspects of that game that would have lent itself to a more modern console. So if they can nail it, and Psychonauts also had a great story. And so if they can get the story down and bring in, I think the word of mouth makes that game success down the road, but I don't see it being a success right out of the gate.
Okay. And Gears of War 5.
Gears 5, I think, has it's positioned very well. It's going to be the tentpole release, I think, for Microsoft this year. Microsoft is going to put a huge push behind it. Multiplayer for Gears is still the thing that brings people to that series. I thought Gears 4 was good. I thought it set the table very well for a good storyline. They need this game to be Gears 2 though, as far as story is concerned.
Yeah. I didn't like the new characters in Gears 4, and I thought the game kind of outwards welcome. To me, by the time that game ended, I just wanted it to end. And I didn't feel that way about the others. So I think the coalition that makes me concerned. Like, I don't think they have crafted as good of a Gears game as Epic has.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I mean, and I could say the same with Halo. Like,
yeah,
I've enjoyed Halo, but since Bungie left it, it just hasn't been the same. And so they've got big shoes to fill, real big shoes, and it'll be interesting to see if they do it. But I think they can. Like, the thing about Gears 4, sure, the characters might not have been up to par, but it still played really good. That was the shooting in Gears 4 was still really good. It was still really fun to shoot my way through that world. So yeah. I'm hoping that they've nailed that part and they can build on the framework they have set up in Gears 4.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So that's pretty much our predictions for this year. So we can use this episode as like a time capsule, come back to it at the end of the year, see who was right, see who was wrong. But yeah, so we should have an interesting year in store for us. I'm more excited this year for games than I was last year. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let's move on to our weekly consultation. Now, I want to talk about this arcade one-up cabinet that I purchased. So for anyone out there who may not have heard of these, I mean, if you stepped into a Walmart during the holiday season, you probably saw these sitting in stores. So Arcade One-Up is a company, apparently a very large company is backing this thing too, which is interesting from what I've heard. But they came out with a set of products that aimed to release an affordable arcade cabinet in your home for a smaller size, something that could fit in your house a little easier, and make it to where it's just a lot more accessible for your average Joe who's wanted an arcade cabinet in their home. Now, when these things first showed up, where they were like, before they came out, when they were showing them off and everything, I was incredibly excited for these things, primarily because I've always wanted to own an arcade machine, and it's just very hard to do. If you actually just want to go outright buy an arcade machine, you're going to drop a couple $1,000s on one. And if you get one somehow, if you're lucky and you get one at an auction or something that's like refurbished or some crap, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to put that thing back together. And it just, you're going to spend a lot of money in parts and a lot of labor to try to get it in a functional order again. So it's just something that there's enthusiasts out there that collect arcade stuff, but it just doesn't seem like it's very feasible for your average gamer. And Arcade One-Up is the company that was trying to make that happen. So they released a set of cabinets, and they had one with Rampage on it. They had a Pac-Man one, an Asteroids one. What was the other? Galaga one, and then they had a Street Fighter 2 one. They announced a Final Fight one as well, and that was the one that I was really interested in, because for me, when I was a kid with arcades, it was always about the beat 'em ups. Those are the games I always enjoyed playing the most. Your Turtles in Times, your Simpsons arcade game, Final Fight, stuff like that was what I always enjoyed playing. So I was actually going to just hold off and wait and get that Final Fight machine, but it never came out. And they finally announced it actually today that it's coming out in February. But so all these other ones I really wasn't too interested in, because I didn't want like classic, like asteroids and stuff like that. I wasn't really interested in. And Street Fighter 2, even though I played a ton of it when I was a kid, not really something I wanted to own at home. So I held off. It wasn't until I realized that these things were incredibly easy to mod that I actually bought one. And the Street Fighter 2 cabinet is the one that is the easiest to mod out of the bunch, because it has the more buttons on it. So there's less modding to do on that one. So that's why I picked it up. I actually picked it up on a pretty good sale. Saved $100 on it. These things retail at $299. I got mine for $199. And I'll go into the whole modding thing later, but I just kind of wanted to go over these cabinets in case anyone was actually interested in buying one. So the Street Fighter 2 cabinet, I bought it with the intentions to mod, but I didn't start modding it until a couple weeks after I bought it. And the thing that you need to realize going into buying one of these is that you cannot expect this thing to be a high quality arcade machine. I don't think anybody really has at a $300 price point. They're going to have to make compromises in some shape or form, right? So they did make compromises. So the machine, the build quality of the arcade cabinet itself is pretty good. It's about on par with what you would expect from an IKEA piece of furniture. It's like that sort of wood / particle board kind of feeling to it that's not super thick. That's kind of what it's made out of. The machine is put together, pretty similarly to a piece of IKEA furniture. They give you all the screws, everything's labeled with letters and everything, and you just put the pieces together. All you need is a screwdriver, and you're up and rocking in like 30-40 minutes. Really easy to put together. It feels sturdy enough, so that's fine with me. It doesn't need to be hard, mahogany wood or anything like that in order to, in order to make me happy. But I think the build quality is okay on it. The LCD screen's good. It's a 17-inch screen. It's in HD. It's no CRT or anything like that. But they don't try to emulate scan lines or anything like that. So if you're wanting that retro feel, I would not expect that here. It's just like playing a retro game on an HD TV. You're going to see, the clarity of those big fat pixels and stuff like that. So if that bothers you, that might be something to consider. But that stuff doesn't bother me, so I actually like the look of the screen. I think it's pretty clear and nice looking, and I have no problems with it. The emulation on Street Fighter is pretty good. I didn't see really any problems other than the audio, and that is primarily because the system only has a one mono speaker, and a lot of these arcade games had stereo speakers, so some of the sound effects don't really come through as well when you're playing these games. Like some of the sound effects are muffled because it kind of needs that stereo sound. So that was really the only thing with the emulation I noticed that was kind of a problem, at least with the Street Fighter one. Everything else, it seemed pretty accurate to the arcade games. Now the Street Fighter cabinet does have Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. It has Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I would have preferred that they would have taken out one of those supers and maybe thrown in like a Street Fighter Alpha or Street Fighter 3 or something like that. I'm kind of bummed that we got essentially 3 versions of the same game. It would have been nice to add a little more extra. They announced that they're releasing a Mortal Kombat cabinet in September, which is awesome, and they put Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 on it. Why didn't they do that with Street Fighter? Why not Street Fighter 2? Why not Super Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 3? Or Street Fighter 2 and then Street Fighter Alpha and Street Fighter 3. I felt like they could have added some better games. But if you're nostalgic for Street Fighter 2, you're probably going to be happy with what they put on here. I think it's fine, but I would have rather had at least one more different Street Fighter game on here. So the biggest problem I've noticed with these machines are the buttons. The buttons are fine. They are they're not high quality at all. They're actually pretty low quality, but playing Street Fighter with it, I didn't really have a problem. The game seemed to control just fine. I'm worried about wear and tear on these things. The buttons seem to be made out of pretty cheap plastic, and those joysticks are made out of even cheaper plastic. And I'm afraid that wear and tear will, after beating on this thing for about a month or so, I'm worried about the long lasting nature of these buttons. I think they're going to wear out pretty quick. Now, thankfully, the buttons are pretty easy to replace. They just take standard arcade buttons, so you can go on Amazon and buy arcade buttons to replace them. So that's cool. The sticks, on the other hand, you cannot. They use kind of two proprietary connectors. And in order to get those things replaced, I think you're probably going to have to go through the company themselves to get one, which are probably just going to give you one of similar quality. So you would have to do some hardcore modding in order to get better sticks in there. So if you plan on buying this machine and playing it a lot with your buddies in your house, I would be a little concerned how long those buttons are going to last. And I didn't realize how bad they really were until I opened this thing up and looked at them. Like, they're really cheap plastic. There's a lot of glue that they use to glue like the cables together. The cables are super thin and small. You can easily snap those things. Yeah, so it's the buttons are concerning. Overall, though, the size of the thing, I think, is fine. I had to sit on my knees in order to play it without a riser. It was perfect for my son, though, who's 4. He ran right up to it and stood up and started playing it, so that was cool. I did buy the riser for it, which lengthens it up to an extra foot, and that feels pretty good. I mean, I'm a pretty small guy, but I mean, that works pretty well for me. But I had my brother-in-law, who's like 6'4", walk up and play with the riser, and he didn't really seem to have much problems. So I feel like the riser is sort of a requirement with this thing. Most people I know that bought the riser as well. Actually, pretty much everybody I know that has one of these has bought the riser for it. So I feel like I would have rather them just put the riser in the box and made it optional, as if you want to use it or not, or just extend the length of the damn cabinet and not even have the option of the riser, because I feel like most people are going to want that thing to be a bit taller.
Now, how much was the riser?
It was $45. Okay. Yeah. So not too crazy, but definitely pretty pricey. I mean, it is pretty big, so it's definitely not a cheap plastic riser or anything like that. I mean, it's all made out of the same materials as the actual arcade cabinet is. So it's fine for the price. They could probably knock off $10 on it, but whatever. So yeah, overall, I'm kind of impressed with it. Like, I think they did a pretty good job at making a $300 arcade machine and making it well enough. I think that the company has some growing pains that they went through. I know their Rampage machine had a glitch in the Gauntlet game that it came with, that like if you hit level 31 in Gauntlet, like the game would lock up and screw up on you. If you contact the company, they'll send you another board that fixes that. The materials on the control deck, like the artwork, will rub out and wear out really, really easy on these things, to the point where the company has made a plastic sort of plexiglass cover that screws onto the top of it. So you can go to their website and fill out a form, and they'll send you one of those for free. And they'll even send you like a cover that has the same art on it. So if it does get rubbed off, you can stick that over it and then put the plexiglass on, and it looks like you didn't even, have the original art there rubbed off, which is nice. And I know that any issues that you have with these things, they seem to be really proactive at fixing them. They don't even make you send in the old part. They'll just send them to you. So the customer service seems to be really well. And I know that in future shipments, they are putting those plexiglass covers and stuff in there, and they're fixing a lot of these issues that people are complaining about. So that's nice. So I'm really curious to see the quality of these things with this new set of machines that they announced at CES this week. They got a Golden Tee one coming out, which I think could be really successful for them. The Mortal Kombat one looks rad. I think that could be really successful for them too. I don't know, but I mean, there's people who bought these things, and the pieces, the components in the box were like janky and messed up. The packaging is okay, but if you buy it from a retailer that don't treat these things very well, I mean, you're going to get some blemishes and some scuffs and stuff on these pieces with these artwork and stuff on them. I know that the marquee on mine has a little kind of a scuff in it right out of the box. So I feel like they could have packaged it a little better to prevent that. But I mean, it is what it is. So I mean, I bought mine from Walmart. They could have kicked the shit out of it in the back room before I got it, but it wasn't too bad. Mine, for the most part, was in pretty good shape. So yeah, I mean, I think the cabinets are really cool. I think that the company is listening, and I think they're improving them, and I think we'll see a lot of improvements with this next line of games they got coming out. I'm really worried about those buttons though and the sticks. I think if they continue to use the ones that they had in this round of machines, I really hope they improve them because they're pretty cheap. And I've never had anything break on me or anything like that. They work just fine. But judging from when I popped that thing open and looked at them, I feel like the wear and tear on that thing is not going to be too kind, and they'll wear out pretty quick. So I would keep my receipt if you buy one, but I think they're going down a right path. I think they're really cool. And if you're interested in them, maybe wait till future shipments come out, like maybe later this year, try to see if they really work out the kinks and check one out then and then see how it goes.
Hey guys, I gotta go. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just solo dadding it and she's not calming down, so I gotta go.
Okay.
So sorry
fine,
guys.
man. You're
All
good.
right, man.
You're
All
good.
right. Bye.
All right. Let me make note of that. 125.51. 1. Okay. Okay. Shannon, you been playing anything, man?
No, just been playing more of the Smash Brothers.
Okay.
And like, yeah, just making my way and clearing out the roster, doing more of the. I made it through like a hurdle. Like there was one level that was actually giving me like a major major headache, and I finally made it through that level. And now I'm just kind of I rampaged through like half of the map, so now I'm moving along pretty well.
How many characters have you unlocked?
I would probably say like half of them.
Okay.
So like, you know, I'm still on my way. Like I got Simon Belmont, and I really like him. Like using
He's got some good range.
Yeah, he's got good range, and I like his like the salve that he throws on the ground that shoots the flames up in the air. The boomerang, his like, you know, his boomerang move has saved me a couple times, and I like the slide that he has that goes into the leap. It's kind of like a nice little like double combo. So I've been really enjoying him and Donkey Kong, like, are my like probably like my 1-2 like fighters.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's been pretty chill right now. I'm just waiting for the end of January so I can get Resident Evil 2 and Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I think we all are. I mean, I don't think we're going to be really digging too deep into some games until those releases come out. So we're just kind of cleaning up what's left over from 2018 right now. I actually have one that I've been playing that I want to talk about. I know you've played that I picked up. That was a 2018 release I really wanted to play, and that was Beat Saber.
Yeah.
So was Beat Saber the first VR game you ever played?
It was.
Okay. So was the how was the sort of your first time experience with that with Beat Saber? I mean, did it blow your mind, or I mean, because I feel like there's better games, you know, that you could play in VR that would give you like a better first impression. But I'm just curious how this game, what your first impression with VR was, you know, pertaining to this game.
So the one thing that was a challenge is I was playing it on I think it was the Oculus Rift, and I think the problem was the guy I went down to my friend Scott's house, and he's a tall dude. So, you know, when you are setting up your parameters for your virtual reality experience, you know, your height is taken into account, and he's probably a good like 4 or 5 inches taller than me. So when I was doing the Beat Saber and I was still on his height settings, like everything was super high. So it was really kind of funny because I was just kind of I had to like jump to like get some of the blocks. But like ducking and moving around was relatively easy. But like once we got the height set to like me and like we set my parameters up, I had a blast. Like I was enjoying the game. But yeah, I mean, as far as a virtual reality experience, you know, it's not too in depth. There's a lot. I mean, it's just it's a you know, a rhythm game that you're playing in a virtual reality setting. but I had a lot of fun with it. It made me want to explore more in that vein of virtual reality games.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I loved the music. I loved the lightsabers. I loved like hitting the blocks, and like I liked noticing it wasn't just the hitting the blocks. It was like how close to the center you hit the block, and how close to the tip of your lightsaber you hit the block that you got bonus points for. So
Mhm.
there was more to the game was more robust than just like smash the blocks and duck. So I downloaded the soundtrack to play when I was going to the gym and stuff like that. So all in all, it was a pleasurable experience for me.
Yeah. So I picked it up. I mean, I got a gift card like for Best Buy for Christmas, and one of the things I did with it was I bought like a big PSN card because I wanted to buy this. I was shocked the game was $30. That
Mhm.
seems like a little steep for this
Probably
game
because
for
it's
me.
Star Wars, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not Star Wars. I mean, it's not licensed by
Yeah.
Star Wars or anything, but yeah, the price of it was a little high, I thought. But I thought $20 would have been better. So I was a little reluctant to buy it at first, but I'm such a big rhythm game fan. Like I had to play this, and everything I've read about it has been very, very positive.
Mhm.
I was concerned about the motion controls on the PlayStation VR, the two Move controllers. With
Mhm.
that camera in conjunction with those, they're not like super good. So I was a little concerned about that, that with the tracking, with this game. But I picked it up. I played a few hours of it. Now, one thing that the PC version does not have compared to the PSVR version is a campaign mode.
Mhm.
So they start you off like slow with like kind of slower, easier songs, and they build your way up, sort of like a Guitar Hero would. And they have this big campaign mode. It gets harder as it goes, and that's what I've been playing. I know the PC version you can import your own songs into, which is really cool. You can't do that with this version, but they're supposed to be releasing like song packs for PSVR that you can purchase in the
Mhm.
future, like DLC. So that's a thing. But for anyone who doesn't know what Beat Saber is, basically you are in VR in like this sort of Tron-like kind of setting, and you have two lightsabers in your hands. You have to use the motion controls. So it's either the Vive controllers or the Oculus controllers or the two Move controllers for PSVR. So you have a red lightsaber in one hand and a blue one in the other. And these notes are coming down this lane at you, sort of like Guitar Hero, but not like, going down a lane is like slant. I mean, they're coming at your face more or less. And they're colored red and blue, these blocks. So you hit the red ones with the red lightsaber and the blue ones with the blue, and it's to the beats of the songs. All the songs are like sort of techno EDM kind of tracks, and they're all made for this game. Like none of them are licensed. It would have been nice to have some licensed music in here, but maybe they couldn't afford to do that. I don't know. But yeah, so it's a pretty decent soundtrack from what I've heard. Nothing that knocked my socks off, but there's some pretty catchy songs here. It's fine. The soundtrack is fine. But when these blocks are coming at you, there's going to be an arrow on them that's either going to tell you to swipe up or down or left or right. So you have to cut it, in the direction that it's pointing to. And then there's some blocks that'll just have like a circle, like a kind of like a dot on it, and you can hit that any way you want. And then there'll be these walls that are coming at you as well, and you have to dodge them and duck under the walls and stuff while you're hitting things. So it's a combination of all of this that's to the beat of these techno songs is what you're doing. It's a full-blown rhythm game. It's really fun. It kind of reminds me of Fruit Ninja. You ever play Fruit Ninja?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like musical Fruit Ninja is kind of how I felt. The main problem I have with this game, and I don't know if you had this issue, but when the songs start getting really fast and there's a lot of blocks on the screen, I have a hard time determining what direction I have to hit it. Like
Mm-hmm.
the up and down arrows all of a sudden just start to kind of blur together to me, and then I start hitting them in the wrong direction. Like I get confused really easy with this game. Did you have that problem?
Yeah. The game does a really good job of confusing you, or trying to get you to like to stumble for that 1 second.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like the replayability is, or like where the joy for some people come in, is because like you do like see that, like, usually, you have, like you were saying, you have I think it's the red one in your left hand and the blue one in your right hand.
Yeah.
And, you'll see that blue block pop up on the left side of the screen, but it's not like it's not like a swipe to the left. It's like a an upward swing or something like that, and like for that split second you're just like and like then you either miss it, or like you finally get it, or you just swipe the wrong way. And the game does that pretty frequently as you get to the harder difficulties.
I hit like the 6th tier of difficulty in this game, and that was when I started to really struggle. Actually, no, it was in the 5th tier, because it kind of goes in like tiers of song, and the 5th one was the one where I started to lose, because at first the goal is to like hit a certain score, and but like you won't fail, but later on they'll make it to where after you miss a certain number of notes, you're done. Like you have to start the song over again, and that was fine. But they will take, because usually all the red blocks come to you to the left side, because that's where you have the red lightsaber in your left hand, and then the blue ones will be on the right. Well, they'll start switching them, so like they'll be coming down that lane. So like a red one will be on the left, where your left hand is on the red lightsaber, and then it'll swap over to the right and throw you off. Then sometimes like they'll switch in the middle before they get to you, so you have to kind of adjust yourself to that as well and kind of look out for that stuff. But so yeah, the game does try to trick you and try to throw you for a loop at times and catch you off guard. But to me, just the up and down arrows for some reason would kind of bleed together in fast songs, and half the time I couldn't tell what was up and what was down. I don't know if that was maybe it's a blurring issue with a PSVR or something. I don't think so. I think it's just my brain just starts to kind of see the up and down arrows as sort of the same after a while. And I get confused and I'll mess up. And maybe it's just because I haven't played the game enough, but I noticed that was happening to me a lot, and it was kind of pissing me off. So I don't know. Like, I am enjoying the game. I think it is really cool. I think if you like rhythm games as much as I do, you should definitely check this out. I think $30 is a little steep, and I think maybe you should wait for a sale. It didn't knock my socks off or anything like that. I mean, I've definitely played much better rhythm games. But I think it's cool, and I think it's pretty fun. I've played a lot better. I mean, it's not like the granddaddy of rhythm games or anything like some people are making it out to be, but it is very enjoyable, and I think people should check it out. They have a VR headset, regardless of platform. It's like everywhere now.
Yeah, so. And I mean, it's a pretty good workout too. I mean, like your arms are flailing around pretty hard.
Yeah, you're ducking around and moving, and yeah, you can. I think I actually saw something online where people were actually working out with the game. So,
nice.
Yeah, and they do have like free play modes and stuff like that, to where if you just want to practice the songs stuff, you can do that as well. But I do like the inclusion of the campaign mode. I think that's cool. Kind of gives it a more Guitar Hero rock band kind of feel. And yeah, it's cool. But I do wish it was a little cheaper than $30. It seems like a $20 title to me. But yeah, it is what it is. All right. Anything else you've been playing?
I've been playing Party Hard.
Party Hard, is that Andrew WK's game?
Yeah, no, it's got like the 8-bit feels, and it's like a top-down like strategy game. So basically what you are is you're a dude who just wants to sleep, and you're next to a house that's throwing a loud house party. And essentially what you do is you go over to the party and you kill everybody at the party, because you're just you want to sleep.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed playing this game for the first maybe like half of the game. Like, it was the first couple levels are, you're just kind of trying to get used to everything. And you basically, what you want to do is you want to go around and you want to kill people in the party without getting caught.
Is it like an action game? Is this like a strategy game?
It's more like a strategy game. So like there are people in the party, and like they're moving around, they're going into the kitchen, they're grabbing beers, they're going into the toilet to like, go to the bathroom, they're going outside to make out. They're like, it's just a typical party. And your job is to just walk in and systematically kill everybody without getting caught by the police. So like if you leave a dead body somewhere, like they're going to call the cops. Like they're going to see the body, they're going to call the cops. Now you can go hide and then wait for the cops to leave. Then you can go back and you can start, where you left off, like stabbing people. But the fun of the game is the environment itself, because there's like a barbecue over in the corner, and then there's like a propane tank that's close to the barbecue. And then what you could do is you can go over to the propane tank and you can like you know, ignite it essentially, and then like a little timer will pop up over it, and then you can go into the like the where the party is inside, and there's like a speaker, and you can rig the speaker to explode and scare everybody so they all run outside, and then when they run outside, the propane tank explodes and like takes out like, you know, like 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
So it's fun in the respect of like trying to think about how you want to take these people out without drawing too much attention to yourself.
Yeah.
And then you know, and there's a storyline, and it uses a lot of adult language, which I mean, it doesn't really need to happen in the storyline, but you know, I mean, it's kind of a dark and gritty kind of, you know, story to begin with. So I guess they're just taking the liberties with the people that are essentially going to be playing this game.
Yeah.
But you know, probably. Oh, go ahead.
I'm taking a look at it right now. This looks like Hotline Miami mixed with like Poltergeist. Not Poltergeist. Was that Poltergeist, an old Genesis game where you were a ghost and you'd walk around the house and you could like haunt items. Like you could like jump into the couch and then the couch would turn to a monster and scare. Like the goal was to try to scare the people out of the house. This kind of looks like that to me, but also like a bit of Hotline Miami.
Yeah, I get that vibe too. But yeah, I mean, the only thing you can really do is like stab people and then throw them in dumpsters or trash cans or try to dispose of them in some way, shape, or form.
Whoever made this game had a really shitty roommate, I feel like, and they just took their rage out on their coding skills.
Yeah, and it's pretty funny too, because when you get to some of the later levels, there's like payphones that you can call, and when you call on the payphone, like you can have like a pizza guy deliver a pizza, and then like everybody huddles around the food, and then you can like turn on a car and hit the ignition and just send the car like across the stage to like take out that whole group of people.
Wow, it's like
or
Hitman.
like yeah, or like you can call in like zombies, like infected people will show up, and then like the stage will be littered with zombies, and they're easier to kill because nobody calls the cops. But like you're like it's like a one-hit kill. Like if you get like tagged by him, you're dead. So you got to be pretty strategic as far as like coming up behind him and like shanking him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
But the difficulty level ramps up pretty hard, like about halfway through the game, for me anyway. And like it went from being like a fun, like, you know, semi-hard strategy game to being just like an annoying strategy game. So, I mean, it's I think I got it on sale. I think it was probably, I want to say I paid around $15 for it.
Okay.
And
what enticed you to buy this? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah,
I've never heard of this before. This is new to me.
Yeah, I think I had read about it in like an IGN, or I'd seen something about it online. Okay. And it was during the Christmas season, and I had just finished my forget what game it was I had just finished. But I just finished like one of my major games, and I was waiting for Christmas so I can get my Smash Brothers, and I just wanted something to fill the time in between, and I was going through the Switch marketplace, and I saw it on sale, so I was just like, oh, what the hell.
Oh, okay, so this is on the Switch. Okay.
Yeah
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't regret it. I mean, for $15 it kept me busy for at least probably 8 hours, so
yeah,
it's fun.
Interesting. All right, cool. Well, let's go on to our week in review real quick. We've been running for a while, so it's time to wrap it up. But Zach had to step out, unfortunately. If you listening happen to hear some baby crying in the background for a little bit there, that was why. So Zach had to take care of his daughter, so he stepped out for the rest of the episode. So we will see Zach next week. Shannon, what you got going on, man?
Not much, other than I found a new guilty pleasure to watch on TV, and I don't know if any of y'all have watched The Masked Singer. It's on Fox on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock.
It's a competition show.
Yeah, so everybody on the show is famous. But what they do, you got to check out like the clips.
Like how famous? Like singers and like artists famous, or like Snooki from like Jersey Shore will pop up or something like that.
So they're either Grammy winning artists, famous athletes, or famous like movie stars.
Okay.
So and like they've had these makeup artists and costume designers create these full elaborate outfits, so you don't see any part of their skin. And before they come to the show, they're picked up and then they're in hoodies and masks, and so you don't know who it is when they're walking into the show either. Like they got this thing on lock, right?
Yeah.
So they come in, and it's 6 masked singers a show. So they do they do 3 rounds. So it's one-on-one, like one singer versus another singer. They come out, you get like a small, probably like couple minute like bio of the animal or monster or whatever it is, and they give you clues to try to figure out who the person is that's singing. So then the person comes out, and usually if it's like an actual Grammy-winning artist, they're not accompanied. They have the music, but there's no vocal track on it.
Okay.
So right away, you can pretty much tell if it's an actual singer or if it's like an athlete or somebody who doesn't sing. Because like if they come out and they're singing over a track, then you know they're not that good of a singer.
Okay.
But typically what happens is in each round, there's a winner and a loser. And then at the end of the show, the 3 losers, the judges vote which one should take their mask off. And then at the end of the night, you get to see one of the people who was masked who got to sing.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil it because there's only been 1 episode so far, and like the second one is tomorrow night. But you know, it's pretty fun because I mean, they're taking people from, you know, when your mom and dad were you know, kids. That are out there singing. They're taking professional athletes that are out there that like have, you know, that just want to try their chops at singing. They're out there, and it's just I don't know, like it's so weird when you hear somebody sing a song and you know the voice is familiar, but you can't place the voice because you can't see the face.
They don't sing their own songs, do they?
No, they don't sing their own songs. They sing like a random song that they, you know, really like, or you know.
But how big are the people? Are we talking like Katy Perry's and stuff like that, or?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is because there's only one episode has been aired, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'll tell you right now, like like on the first show, you're gonna laugh when I start this. There was the peacock, there was the hippo, there was the monster, there was the unicorn, there was the deer, and then there was a lion. Yeah. So, like basically, you know, they mask all the voices too. That's the other thing, is like if they're interviewing them, like you don't hear their regular voice. You just hear like they change the pitch and they speed up or slow down the voice.
Okay.
So you can't really tell by the voice either. So, you know, I don't know. It's so fun to watch, like, because you're just sitting there and you see this peacock and you're like, I don't know who it is. And you have this picture in your mind of like what you think the voice is going to sound like when they start singing. Mm-hmm. And then they start singing and it's totally opposite of what you were expecting. And then you're like invested, right? Because now you want to know who this person is. Mm-hmm. And that carrot on the stick keeps you coming back, because like every week, you know, those people will come back, those costumes will come back, and then they'll add like new costumed singers to the rotation as well.
How many get revealed in that first
only
episode?
1 per episode.
So like, the ones that didn't get revealed roll on to the next episode?
So they go on in the series. So they won't necessarily be on the next show, but they'll be on at some other point in the season. Okay. So, you know, so if you don't get it in the first episode, they'll be back, but like they might not be back like right away.
So are they judged on their talent?
No, they're not even like the judges that are there are basically just trying to figure out who's under the mask, just as you are. So like they'll ask questions, or they'll be like, I think it's this guy, or, you know, you're obviously singing over vocal tracks or you're not a singer. And then they're allowed to ask a question, and the masked singer is allowed to answer, but usually their questions are riddles. Or they're not, they have double meanings. Their answers will have double meanings. So like you can sit there and try to figure out like the evidence.
Okay.
I really wish, I mean, if you guys are interested, I'm not going to spoil it, but like, you know, there are a lot of examples in that first episode. I'll tell you the hippo doesn't make it through the first episode, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. But if you look at his clues, like once he gets revealed, you're just like, oh, that makes so much sense. Okay. I got it.
Interesting. So, I mean, you've only seen 1 episode, so I can't really answer. I'm just curious how big of people they got to get involved in this.
Well, like I said, I mean, they're Grammy winners. And like the people who like the people who have been speculated to be like contestants on the show are really big deals, like in their respective professions.
Okay.
So, you know, I mean, I could tell you once we're off air, like if you have an investment in watching it, I'll tell you, like, I could tell you who I think are some of the people.
Okay.
But yeah, well, check it out. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It hit the right notes. Like, it's funny to watch.
I might have to check it out. It sounds interesting. I don't really like those singing competition shows or anything at all. You know, like American Idol and all that shit and The Voice. Like my mom like loved that stuff, and I just can't. I can't handle it. But this sounds interesting though. Just to see who the mystery person is. You know, is sort of a cool twist on this. So
yeah, and the songs are all good too. I mean, they're all like top 100 songs. So I mean, there's a pretty good chance that you're gonna like the songs that you're listening to. I mean, like they did Queen. They covered Queen. They covered like The Greatest Showman, like that Hugh Jackman movie. They did a song from that.
Yeah.
They did some like Black Eyed Peas and Fergie. They did I mean, like they had a whole bunch of songs. So I mean, you'll get a kick out of it. I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay, I'll check it out. So the only thing I really have going on right now, I wanted to go in a little detail of, because you guys, if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably been seeing some tweets and stuff about this. So that one up arcade machine that I just talked about a little bit ago, that Street Fighter one. As I said, the reason why I bought the Street Fighter cabinet was because it's the best one to mod out of the bunch. And once I saw what was required in order to mod one of these, I had to have one. That's why I went ahead and jumped the gun and bought one, and I didn't wait for that Final Fight cabinet because I wanted to mod the shit out of this thing, okay? There is a gentleman by the name of ETA Prime. He's a YouTuber, and his channel is actually pretty cool. He does a lot of modding stuff. He does a lot of retro game stuff, and it's not just video games. I mean, he shows modding other stuff too, and he has a lot of tutorial videos and stuff, and they're really good to watch in that regard. I think the guy's pretty. He has this voice too that he sounds like a teacher, you know, and he does a really good job of explaining things. But he was one of the first ones that came out and said, "Yeah, you can totally mod these machines, and here's how you do it." And he showed how to do it. And once I watched that video and saw what it was, because I figured if you were going to mod something like an arcade machine, you'd probably have to solder crap on boards and all this stuff, and like stuff that I really wouldn't want to do. And building your own arcade machine requires a lot of, you know, like carpentry skills, you know, in order to build that cabinet and stuff like that. So I was actually shocked when I watched this video how pretty easy it was. Now, you might want a little bit of computer skills in order to pull this off. I mean, I work IT for a living, so it helps that I know my way around some computers. But for the most part, it's fairly easy. So what I did was I took the machine, I gutted this thing. I took out all the buttons, all the sticks, and that's when I took those buttons and sticks out is when I realized that, wow, those buttons are really cheap. I took out the circuit board inside that controls the entire thing. The only thing I left was the cabinet itself and the LCD screen inside. So what I did, and I'll go over this quickly, so I'm not going to go in all the details. If you want to know more, I can leave the video description for ETA Prime's video in the show notes. I didn't follow his video to a T, but I used it as a kind of a template to do a lot of the stuff I did. But if you want more details, let me know. You can reach out to me on Twitter or our Facebook group or whatever. I'll give you more details. But so basically what I did was I bought a Raspberry Pi. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's a little motherboard computer that is the size of a credit card, and they're like $35. They're very cheap. They have 4 quad-core processors in them. They have a gig of RAM. They emulate stuff really, really well, like classic, like retro games. And there's an operating system for it called RetroPie that you can load onto it. That's a big emulating, like an emulator operating system for this thing. And you can use a PC if you want to go that route. I know there's those Pandora's box things that sometimes people put in them as well. I went with the Raspberry Pi because I've always wanted one to tinker around with. I never had an excuse to have one until now. and they're really cheap and easy, and they're low power. And so I went with one of those. So I threw one of those in. I loaded RetroPie on. I put a bunch of beat 'em up arcade games I loved to play as a kid on there, and that's what's powering the machine. So I bought an HDMI little LCD controller board where you can actually go into the machine and you can pull the ribbon cable out of the monitor. It's like a normal connector pin, and you can plug it into this little circuit board that you can buy for like $30 on Amazon that converts that screen into HDMI. So you can plug an HDMI cable into the board, and then you can plug it right into the Raspberry Pi, and boom, you got the screen working on the Raspberry Pi. It's super easy, and the board's like $30. And I just use some double-sided sticky tape and just slap that bad boy in there, and there you go. The hardest part about modding this thing is changing out the buttons and the sticks. You can use the old buttons if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. It's easier just to buy a kit and replace everything. The sticks you can't really reuse. I mean, you'd probably have to buy a really expensive USB encoder in order to use that stick that it comes with, and they're so cheap. Like, I really would not even recommend it. I would just toss the damn things. So what I did was I bought a do-it-yourself arcade stick kit that's all USB. So it comes with LED buttons. I got they give you 2 sets for 2 players. They give you significantly better sticks and buttons in these kits, and I paid like $45 for the kit. So anywhere between, depending on how fancy you want to get, anywhere between $40 to $50, you can get a whole kit that you can use to build an arcade stick, 2 arcade sticks actually for the machine. I got ones that glow green and yellow. So yeah, I mean, you just basically take all the sticks and buttons out of this thing, you use the same holes that are on that control deck, you pop in your new buttons. You put in the new joystick, make sure it's lined up right. I had to drill a couple extra holes in order to mount it because the holes, the bracket is a little different size than the old one, so you'll have to drill some extra holes in there. But and then there's these little USB encoder boards that come with these kits that all the little buttons and sticks plug into the encoder boards, and then there's a USB cable that runs out into it. You plug those USB cables into your Raspberry Pi, and there you go. You got arcade sticks plugged into it. And so once this is all set up and powered up and everything, it just looks like a standard arcade machine, and all these components are running in conjunction together inside, and you can load whatever arcade games you want on this thing and play it. It's incredibly cool. I've always wanted something like this, and just the fact that these arcade one-up machines are pretty inexpensive, they're really easy to mod as long as you don't mind putting a little elbow grease into them, and you have a little bit of computer skills. You can make it happen really easy, and I had little to no problem doing it. The only thing I did wrong is you have to wire up the buttons on both player 1 and player 2 identical. If you switch any of those around on accident, it'll throw the controls off, and that happened to me. I had to go back in there and rewire them a bit. But otherwise, yeah, the only thing I'm waiting for right now is I need to get like an amp or something that I can hook some speakers up to, or get some PC speakers for it and kind of mod some sound in there, because right now it has no audio. But I just got to go buy something, and that's the only thing else I need. And throughout the year, I'm just going to continue to improve this thing and mod it and do more stuff with it. And it's really fun. It's been a really cool project. So if anyone's interested, those cabinets can be pretty easily modded.
Nice.
So.
Now, were the ROMs for the RetroPie, like that emulator, I guess you could say, was it hard to get those to download? Was there any?
No, I mean, the one of the biggest sites to get them was one of the ones that Nintendo got shut down. So that sucks. It was one of the best places to go, but there's still plenty of websites that have them. You can even go on BitTorrent stuff and like download whole ROM packs. Now, MAME arcade ROMs work a little differently than like just like classic console ROMs do. So some of them are a little hard to get to work. There's like compatibility sheets and stuff out there, and there's different types of arcade emulators that are in RetroPie that you have to kind of tinker with to try to get them to work. Like, there's some of them that I've had to get different versions of the ROMs of that particular game in order to get them to work right. You don't just download the ROM and throw it in there and just load it up and play it like you would like a Nintendo game or something. Like, you definitely have to put more effort into getting them to work, but it's not too bad. And yeah, I've had a pretty good easy time, finding the games I wanted and getting them to run. But like one game in particular, I was trying to put Pac-Man on it, and Pac-Man's actually pretty hard to figure out because surprisingly, in order to get the ROMs to work, you have to have like a parent or a child ROM that the ROM piggybacks off of in order to get it to work. And if with Pac-Man, in order to get Pac-Man to work, you have to have the original Japanese Puck-Man on there as well, because it piggybacks off that ROM in order to get Pac-Man functioning. So if you don't have Puck-Man as a parent ROM that goes along with Pac-Man, it won't work right. So it's stuff like that can throw you off, and it can be a little harder to emulate games. But there's plenty of guides out there that'll help you out. There's subreddits full of people that are really helpful that'll help you out with it too. And I didn't have too much problem. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's about it from us this week. Shannon, you got anything to close with, man?
No, dude, it's just another week in the books. We made it a week into 2019. Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Robbie will be back next week. Then towards the end of the month, we'll be kicking into high gear and really getting into like a new format with our weekly updates and stuff like that too. So anyways, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at That Pixel Life if you guys want show updates and more from us. Don't forget to join that Facebook group as well if you want to talk to us about games every single day. We post all kinds of news and stuff there as well. And drop us an iTunes review if you're Apple users, and it helps us out. And if you don't mind filling that out for a couple of minutes, it'd be great. Otherwise, that'll be it from us this week. Tune in next week where Robbie will be back and we'll be talking about some more stuff. But otherwise, have an awesome weekend and we'll see you next time.
Bye.